All right, welcome. Not many people here today. It's very interesting because I feel like in previous time, the last lecture was the lecture that we have the most number of students other than week one. But anyway, yep, so if you haven't done that, please help us get some feedback because that's very important for us to know what we have been doing good, what needs to be improved so that we can have something to act upon. Yeah, I'll come back to that later again. Online, can you hear me? Testing. Can you hear me? Oh, yeah, they can hear me. Perfect. Great, so what are we going to talk about today? The lecture slides for today is on the course website, but I think the course website now is down at the moment. I'll fix that after the lecture. But if you want to have a look at the lecture slides, they are here in the YouTube chat. So I put the link to the lecture slides here. Yeah, I'll fix the course website after the lecture. Cool. So today we are talking about the exam. Yeah, perfect. Cool. Some quick announcements. Very, very important to try the exam environment. I know I have been talking about this for many, many times, but because this is so important, so I'm mentioning it again. Other than that, the practice exam questions is on the course website. So during your lab, if you can't finish all the questions, it's okay as long as you try the exam environment. So you can still practice the questions, and the solutions are also available. Another important thing is to watch the exam briefing lecture in week 8 if you haven't. So that has the contents about like the structure of the exam and other things, and we are not talking about them again today. So we still have a few help sections available till the end of week 10. Unfortunately, we are not allowed to have help sessions in week 11. So if you still need help, for example, understanding the answers to the practice exam questions, you can ask on the forum. So there's a section on the forum for the exam. So any question about the exam, you can ask on the forum as well. Okay, so other than that, today we are going to do a review of the course contents and also some other briefings about the exam. So let's go back to week 1. I feel like we are going back to week 1. Like why we are here, what did we want to achieve, and how much have we achieved so far. So what we wanted to achieve is learn the software engineering principles via exposure to important practice of building correct products in effectively functioning teams. So this is the course goal. So when you reflect back, you can have a look like, well, there are a few keywords here. For example, software engineering principles. For example, writing maintainable code software, making sure that we are designing software for the right users, for the right people. We learn those through doing the projects, doing the labs, and understanding the theoretical parts of the software engineering. And all of these are practiced in the teams, like in group works. I know like group work at university cannot be the same as the group work in industry, but at least you can get some exposure to working with other people. For example, for Git, when we learn version control, it's impossible to practice with just single person, right? So you need to know how to fix the merge conflicts, how to review other people's code. So this needs to be practiced in groups. So hopefully that will give you some experience in software engineering in groups, in teamwork environment. Cool. So hopefully now what you can do is you can describe stages of software development life cycles and implement them, like basically, not like to a very high level, but you have a basic understanding about how to implement them. So what are the software development life cycle? Do you remember the stages of it? So first of all, we have Planning, so that's the requirement engineering phase. Yep, understanding the requirements of the users, the clients, the stakeholders, to make sure that we are designing, developing the right software for the right people. What else? What are the other stages? Hey, hello. Other stages of designing. Yes, so next phase, we need to have a higher level of designing. For example, the conceptual modeling, right? Using the state diagram. What else? What are the other stages? Implementing, yes. So now we have the requirements, we have the higher level design, then now it's time for us to actually write something, to implement some code. What are the other stages? Testing, yeah, we spent so much time this term writing tests, right? So making sure that our software is functioning properly, is doing the right thing. We need to have those testing. What else? Deployment, yes, so we need to make sure that our software product not only sit on our own laptop, but can actually be used by other people. So that's the goal, right? If users cannot use it, it's useless, right? So what else? Maintaining, so after our software is available for the users, deployed, we need to maintain it to make sure that it's not that many bugs, is functioning, and we are also taking the users' feedback, making improvements, maybe adding new features, and monitoring it. What else? No more. That's it. So those are the phases, the stages in software development lifecycle. So by this week, you should have a brief understanding about all stages in them. And you know how each stage works. What are the most important things for each stage? And you should also be able to reason about good practices of software engineering. Like, what are the good practices of software engineering? For example, the principles of writing maintainable softwares, like the keys, the dry, what are the others? Like keeping the complexity not too high, how to measure the complexity. Yep.
You aren't going to use it?
Yeah, you aren't going to use it. There's another principle as well. So you should be able to evaluate whether software is good or not, like whether they are following those good practices. Other practices including, for example, the version control. Like you have merge requests, it's reviewed and approved by another team members, you are solving merge conflicts. So these are all about the good practices of software engineering. And also another one can be like writing tests to ensure that your software is doing properly. Test-driven development is another example of good practices as well. Cool. So now let's do some fun things. How many people do we have online? So let's help you to do some reflection on what you have learned so far, so that you can share with the others on what you have learned, so other people may notice, well, this is something that I missed. I'm not that confident on that concept yet. So this may be something that you want to revision before the exam. So let me scan this QR code as well. Yep, so let's now do the first one. This one. If you refresh your screen, you should see this question, what did you learn this term? So share with the group what you have learned. So you may notice something that you want to revise. How to lead and manage a group of people. Oh, that's fantastic. That's one of the key learning outcome of this course. Perfect. And another people said TypeScript. Yes. So we have a lot of resources for practicing TypeScript. So project is one of them, lab is one of them. If you feel like you're not that confident in TypeScript yet, you can try some of the lab again. And we also have some extra practices for you to practice that for sure. Teamwork, hooray, amazing. SDLC, so this is the software development life cycle, perfect. Test cases, yes. Writing tests. So there are two types of writing tests. One is writing test like unit testing, how you can write tests for a specific function. And there's also a higher level of writing tests, which is the integration test, like how you can write tests for your server level. So these are some of the key learnings from the course so far. Teamwork, yay. Great. How can I see all the writing dry? Yes, dry and keys. These are the principles of writing maintainable softwares. Management. What do you mean by management? Like managing the project? Managing the people in the project? Software, yep, development. Purpose, what did you mean by purpose? Did you mean by like the purpose of your software, like having proper requirements? HTTP, wow, this is a good one. Like you have been spending so much time in your project learning about HTTP. So this is also a core of the course as well. Like we had, I think, at least 3 lectures on the topic of HTTP. So HTTP is also the foundation, the fundamentals of writing a software, like a web application. Has front end, back end, so how things can connect to each other. Yagini, yes, it's another principle that you have learned. Perfect. Amazing. So while you look at other people's learning, so you may notice, well, is there anything that I want to revise before the exam? For example, do you want to have another look at the HTTP servers? Like what is HTTP? How to write a server, right? And what is an API? How can we write APIs? How can we use, for example, Post or other how do you communicate with the server, right? Amazing. So now let's have a look at another one, which is what I put on resume from COMP1531. So I know a lot of our students are using COMP1531's project as part of their resume. They mentioned, well, this is a project that I did during my university studies. So what you can do, you can refresh your page, the same Slido room, just refresh that and you should be able to see that question. Yeah, we had a student online saying, revise HTTP and API, please. Yeah, so if you are not that confident about those two concepts, you may want to have another look at that before the exam. So we can have a brief talk about those today as well if we have time. Tahuk, yeah, the project. Teamwork, so you can mention that you have some teamwork experience, how you lead a team, how you solve the conflicts, how you demonstrate your leadership styles, and HD marks. Yeah, so it'll be amazing that if we can get an HD marks on the resume as well. Teamwork, yeah, a lot of people mentioned teamwork and problem solving. Yeah, this is a really good one. Like it can be demonstrated in a variety of ways, like solving problems with collaboration. So that's one dimension. Another dimension is problem solving, demonstrating in like the technical perspective, like how technically solve problems. Project skills learned HD marks. Build a backend server for a Kahoot-like quiz application in a group. Perfect, that's amazing. Lead a team and collaborate with others. HTTP roles and APIs. Yes, Tahoe building an API, agile programming. Yes, a lot of the tech companies, they are really looking forward skills about the candidates' understanding about agile. This is the very commonly or modern software development way. Team management, critical thinking, problem solving, excellent use of VS Code, deep exposure of diverse set of programming language, Python, TypeScript, C++. Oh, wow. So you had a combination of skills learned from COMP1531 and other courses together, which is great. Cool. Yeah, backend, team management. Great, we still have one participant typing. Version control using Git. Yeah, this is also a very good one. This is a really important skill to learn and to demonstrate during your tech interviews. Amazing. Cool. So you can get some inspirations from the other students in the course as well. Like these are the important things that you can put in your resume that you may not realize before. So here are some inspirations for you. So, one thing that I'm proud of from this course, like any big achievements that you have made in this course that you feel so proud of yourself. Maybe you developed new skills, or you saw some challenges, or time management, like managing the workload. I don't know. Too many things to be proud of. It's hard to pick one. No last minute scramble before deadline. Wow, that's so cool. That definitely demonstrate your time management skill and also how you collaborate with your team members. Amazing. My group, yeah, I heard so many stories about like how our students build friendship with like long-term friendship with their group members after the course, which is amazing. Yeah, the friends I made in my group, learning, mastering Git, learning TypeScript, and making web application HD marks. That we built something people can play. Yeah, so this is a real software that you can actually deploy when you have time. Maybe after the exam or during the holidays, you can deploy and share with your family members, share it with your friends, and people can actually use it. I'm totally excited to adapt to any programming language I was exposed in this course. Yeah, so I'm so proud of you as well about that. Like we didn't spend too much time in the course actually teaching JavaScript, but you just pick it up so quickly. If you want to practice more about JavaScript, we had the quizzes and the practical practices for you on the course website about JavaScript as well. So these are like 1-5-1 style questions that are very basic about JavaScript. Completed most of the project despite non-participating team members. Yeah, so I know not all of our groups are like perfect, but this may also something that you are proud of, which is great. you can still do it despite some challenges. Fantastic. Let me have a look if anything online. Yeah, I'm just waiting for this one. Yeah, I really enjoy this activity, like looking at what you are proud of, what you have learned, what you want to put on your resume. So this is a really amazing experience for everyone. But although like I know we have like covered so many topics, so many different concepts in this course, it's really hard to get a very deep understanding about the whole life cycle. So you may notice, well, there are other things that you wanted to keep learning after the course, which is good. Like, you know what you are not like, you don't have a deep understanding about that yet. So you may want to take other courses, do some research yourself, looking at some online resources. I got an extremely harmonious and highly active group. I successfully turned myself to a multi-threading Python function by doing multiple things in one iteration, like writing tests, writing implementation, communicating with colleagues. Oh, this is a very lucky one. Having a good team and learn so many things. Yeah, this is super proud. This can be super proud of. Testing software functionality like web, game adapted to different consoles, understanding how the legal software engineering practices may relate it to industries. Yes, the industry, we try to align as much as we can with industry practices. So that's great. Feeling like you are more confident to try some like industry projects, for example, internships and others. Fantastic. Great. Yeah, so here's my summary of what you have learned. Maybe slightly different from yours, but this is from like more of a course perspective. So we have learned software management, including version control, Git. You have talked about that as well. Teamwork, yay. So that's about software management. We also learned software process, the SDLC. We learned how to have an actual software projects by having package. We know how to use other people's packages in our software product rather than writing everything from scratch. We also learned CI. We use the pipeline a lot. We also learned the theoretical like introduction to the CD. Do you remember what is CD? Continuous deployment or continuous delivery. One needs a menu approval, the other doesn't need a menu approval. If you don't know which one requires a menu, like human approval, have a look at the slides. So something you may want to revise before the exam as well. Other things we have learned, how to have persistence layer in our software product. What does persistence mean? Yes, so it means that your data is persistent. Means that when your server restarts, you still have the data. Like the user data, the game data, the questions data, they are not lost. So this is called persistence. Okay? Yeah, when I'm talking through the concept, you may want to check with your memory. Like, do I remember that? Is it something that I want to revise? Other things, HTTP server. How to write a server, how to start a server, what does port number mean, what if a port is not available, right? How to communicate with the server, right? Related to the HTTP server is the APIs. What does API mean? How to write an API, how to call an API, right? So these are the things. Check with your memory. Auth means hashing, like save the user's password security is part of the auth. Another part of the auth is like register log in, log out. How does that work? Another part of the software project is deployment. After we have the software, how can we make it available for other people to use? You do not need to know how to implement the deployment, but you need to have an understanding about what that stage in the SDLC mean, and what is CD, like continuous delivery, continuous deployment, what those means. Yep. Another group of topic that we have learned is the software verification. There are two types of verification that we learn in this course. What are they? Static verification and dynamic verification. What are the differences? Yes, for static verification, you do not need to actually run the code. And you can somehow verify or identify some potential issues in your code. So those are called static verification. On the other hand, dynamic verification means that you actually need to run the code to verify your software, your code. Okay, so you may want to think about in static verification, what are the potential ways to do static verification? For example, checking the tabs, right? So tab script is one example of static verification. Another example of static verification is linting. Yes. Checking memory, and you may write down some notes, like these are the things that I want to double check, I want to revise, I want to have a look at the recordings again. Yes, great. So Anlan, Jinghao, you are doing it perfectly. Dynamic verification, how do we do dynamic verification? You have been doing it throughout the term. Writing tests, right? Writing unit tests, integration tests, so those are dynamic verification. Another topic that is related to dynamic verification is the test coverage that you have been using in iteration 3. Like, how do you get the coverage? Why having the coverage is important? How do you get the coverage? How do you improve the coverage? What are the different dimensions of coverage, like statement coverage, branch coverage, statement coverage, line coverage, right? Write notes if you feel like, well, there are some topics I want to have a look, okay? Another group of topic that we have learned is about software design. In that topic, we talked about software complexity. Why is it important? What are the different types of complexity? Like, what are the sources of complexity? Maybe the problem itself is just complex. On the other hand, maybe the complexity is from our design of the software. Like, we just make it very complicated. It can be reduced. Those kind of complexity can be reduced. How do we measure complexity? We measure it using cyclomatic complexity. How do we calculate cyclomatic complexity? We draw the graph, to calculate the ages, the nodes, and there's a formula that we can use to calculate the cyclomatic complexity. Modeling. We talked about conceptual modeling. The most important part of the conceptual modeling is the state diagram. What does state diagram describe? It describes the behavior of the system, the different states in the software, and how it can change or transit from one state to the other state. What are the three components of state diagrams? We need to have the states, how state can transit from one to the other, the arrows, and the actions. So the actions that trigger the transitions from different states. So those are the three components of state diagrams. Okay, so you need to know how to draw a state diagram, how to understand the state diagram. Another topic in software design is about maintainability, and it's mainly about the principles that we just talked about, for example, keys, dry, Yagini, and the others. If you are given a piece of code, you know whether they are following the principles or how you can rewrite some part of the code to make sure that they're following those principles. Yeah. Another group of concepts that we have learned is about the software requirements. So that's about requirement engineering. So there are different types of requirements: functional requirements and non-functional requirements. What are their differences? If you are given a sentence of a requirement, can you identify whether that's functional or non-functional requirements? How do we get those requirements? So we need to go through a few steps. The first one is called elicitation. You may want to do some interviews, do some user research. You want to talk with stakeholders. Who are the stakeholders? Right? If you are given a scenario, can you identify those potential stakeholders? After elicitation, we analyze the data that we collect. We need to prioritize, we need to identify the themes, and then we write the requirements, right? So we write them in non-functional, functional requirements, or we write them into user stories, use cases, how to write user stories, how to write use cases, what are the structures, and then the last step is validation. Why do we need to validate? How do we validate? A lot of things. I know we have learned so much in 10 weeks. So what we just have go through is to talk through all the concepts, or the majority of the concepts. I hope I'm not missing one. Yep, so anything that you feel like you're not that confident about, go back to the lecture recording, go through the lecture slides, or do some more coding practices. Amazing. Cool. Any question about those concepts or topics? All good? Yep. Cool. If you get a good understanding about the topics here on the slides, you should be perfectly okay in the exam. Okay. So here are all the assessments that we have in the course. So congratulations, you have done the majority of the assessment so far. So you have already finished the 50% of the lab marks. You have already done the project, which also 45% of the course marks. And now the only thing that's remaining is coming soon is the final exam. So to pass the course, there are two criteria that you need to meet. The first one is you got like 50 out of 100 in overall, like across all these assessments. And you need to score at least 40% on the final exam. And this 40% is after scaling. Okay, so for example, some edge cases, a student may get like 55 out of 100 overall. They pass the first criteria. However, very unfortunately, they fail on the final exam, so they did not meet this criteria. Then the end result will be like 55 EUF, not 55 pass. So EUF means that you pass the overall marks, the overall score threshold, but did not pass the hurdle in the final exam. So that's what it means. So this is exactly the same as COMP1511, 1521, 2511, 2521. I can't remember the majority of CSE courses. In terms of pass rate, so we got this question quite a lot. So if we have students in the exam, they are just below the pass threshold. For example, you need 80 10 out of 50 to pass the hurdle of the exam. If you're just below that, we'll manually inspect your submissions in the exam. So if we feel like you have met the expectation, the minimum expectation of the course, you will be bumped it up. So we'll manually look at your submission if you're just below the pass threshold. And this also works for the first criteria, like the 50 out of 100 of the course mark. If you got, for example, 49 or 48, we'll also manually look at all your submissions from project, from lab, from the final exam to double check whether you meet the expectation, the learning outcome of the course. Another thing to mention is that for the final exam, in case we see many students who sufficiently show competency with basic course material but not passing, like a lot of students are failing, in case that happens, the exam mark or other components may be scaled up, so it will apply to all students in the course. So similar as, for example, COMP1531, like this is a challenging course. It's not a very easy course that you learn so many new things, but the pass rate is just as the same as the average of other level 1 CSE courses. So although it's challenging, like we are not failing a lot of students. In terms of the marks that you have already got, you should be able to calculate your own lab marks so far, so you can have an understanding of the marks that you have already got so far. So in our labs, we had practical lab and theory labs. We had 9 accessible core practical labs, and each was 1 mark. And for the theory quizzes, we had 6 theory quizzes, and each was 0.5 marks. So in total, you may calculate, well, there are 12 marks in total. As long as you got like about 10 marks out of 12 marks, you got full marks for the labs. So you should be able to calculate your own lab marks now. The majority of our students, like greater than 70%, got almost full marks, like above 9 out of 10 marks for the lab. So yeah, so these are some kind of easy marks. Project marking, so our tutors are marking your iteration 3 now, and we are hoping to get your iteration 3 marks back before the exam, so you can get an estimate of the marks that you have already got before the exam. Usually in previous terms, the mean of the project mark is about 77 out of 100, so it's also pretty high for the project mark. Okay, so these are the assessments that you have already finished so far. In terms of the final exam, so our exam, 1531 exam, is on the 5th of December, which is the Friday of the exam week. And we have 2 sessions on that day, which is the morning session and the afternoon session. This is a 3-hour exam. Before the 3 hour, you have 10 minutes reading time. Means that you cannot write, you cannot type, but you can read the questions for 10 minutes before the exam starts. A very important reminder is to bring your student ID card. Pack your bag before the exam day, making sure that you have your student ID packed. This is very, very, very important. In case it's lost or expired, get a new one before the exam. Go to the nucleus and they will get you fixed, help you fix that. Yeah, so you should have received an email from CSE exam telling you which session you are in and which lab your exam will be and your dex number. So all the information should have already been sent to you. Double check that, making sure that you know where that lab is and what time you need to arrive. Yeah, so in case you have a clash with another exam, for example, you are allocated to the morning session of 1531 exam, but on that morning you have another course exam. In case that happens, you need to email the CSE exam as soon as possible, and they will help you figure that out. Yeah, so this is the link that you should have received. And this is how the page looks like. So some thing to keep in mind that you need to arrive early before the exam. So our recommendation is 30 minutes before your allocated time. You will not be allowed to enter the exam room if you arrive more than 10 minutes late after the start of the exam. So this applies to the morning session. For the afternoon session, you will not be allowed to do the exam if you are late. Not more than 10 minutes, but late. Will not be allowed to do the exam. And yeah, so in here we say like at least 5 minutes, but our recommendation is 30 minutes to make sure that if anything happens, you still have enough time. Yeah, so there's also a link telling you which where the labs are. So have a look at that, making sure that you know where they are. Yeah. Do you know what does crawling allocation mean? Yeah, it means that the morning session student will not be able to communicate with the afternoon session student. So before the morning session students be allowed to leave, the afternoon students should already arrived in a room. Yeah, so there's no way to communicate. So that's what we mean by crawling allocation. That also means that if you are late to the afternoon exam session, that the morning session student has already left, you will not be able to attend the exam. So it's very important to arrive in time. Cool. So there are some other information as well. No student card, no exam. So this is the new USW policy. There are other rules from USW, from CSE. Please have a look before the exam as well. Yep, so if any issue with your allocation, please contact CSE exam as soon as possible. And they will help you with that. Yeah, so another thing is for the morning session, students will not be allowed to leave the room early. So this is to making sure that the two different sessions you cannot communicate. For the afternoon students, you can leave early if you finish early. But for the morning session, you cannot leave early, even if you finish early. Yes, student card, very important. Another important thing is you cannot put your phone in your pocket during the exam, even though the phone is off, it's not turned on, like it's turned off, you still cannot have it in your pocket. So bring a bag on that day, put your phone in your bag and leave the bag at the allocated area. Any other electronic devices, watches should also be switched off and put it in your bag. You can have a water bottle bring to the exam, but making sure that it's completely clear water bottle. And you can only bring one. You cannot bring your own keyboard, mouse, or other hardware to the exam as well. Do you know what this fit to sit policy means? Have you heard of that? Cool, great. So in case people online don't know that, yeah, it means that before starting the exam, you are saying that I'm well enough to finish the exam. So if you sit the exam, you cannot just say I'm not feeling well. However, if you are just really unwell during the exam, talk to an exam supervisor as soon as possible. It's case by case. You may be granted to a special consideration, a supplementary exam based on the situation. You do not need to force yourself to sit there, oh, I need to finish the exam, but I'm feeling so sick, I'm so unwell. Just raise your hand, let your exam invigilator know, and there will people, professional people there to help you, to let you know whether you can potentially get a special consideration given the circumstances, and whether you can be granted a supplementary exam. Okay, so you do not need to make sure, oh, I need to finish that. If you're just really feeling unwell, let the invigilator know. But if you are already unwell before the exam, not suddenly become unwell during the exam, you should see a doctor, apply for special consideration, and do not attend the exam. And wait for the special consideration. If it's approved, you will get a supplementary exam. Okay. Have you tried the exam environment? Yeah. So for Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday morning classes, you should have tried that already. But for like students in this afternoon or tomorrow, you will still have opportunities to try that. You will notice there's no access to internet, there's no access to course website, and no access to your own files in the CSE machine as well. In terms of format, we have 15 marks for theory questions and 15 marks for practical questions. So what we mean by theory questions? It means questions that are like multiple choice questions or short answer questions. So they look like this. Where are they? Yeah, so this is what the multiple choice questions look like. It will have 15 questions in the final exam, the same as this practice exam, and it was 30 marks. So each question was 2 marks. You will either get 2 or 0. Just no 1 or 1.5, 0.5. You just right or wrong. And then other than the multiple choice questions, we also have some other theory questions, and these are short answer questions. So you will have a question, and we will let you know in which file you need to do what, and what. So this is the format of the theory questions, like multiple choice and short answer questions. And you will also have a couple practical questions or programming questions, which will ask you to write some code to solve some problems. So these are the questions from the practice exam. So you will notice that some questions, they have multiple tasks in it. So in the final exam, if there are multiple tasks in one question, they will be in the order of difficulty. So the first task or the first 2 tasks of one question are the easy ones, and the final task in one question is the hard ones. So this is different from COMP1531 and 1521 because they group the difficulty in terms of like these questions are easy ones and the final 2 questions are the hard ones. But for COMP1531, like there are multiple tasks in each question, and in each question they are grouped in the order of difficulty. So if, for example, if you start from the first practical question and there are, for example, there are 3 subtasks, and if you're like, oh, the subtask is pretty challenging for me, you do not need to stuck there. It doesn't mean the first question of the practical question is all easy questions. So you can feel free to move on to the next question. And then start from the subtask 1 to subtask 2 to subtask 3 until you feel, well, this is too challenging for me. And then I move on to the next practical question. Okay, so this is something that you wanted to know before the exam. And also difficulty is subjective for sure, of course, like different people feel it differently. We also got a question on the forum asked, how do you feel about the practice exam actually? Like, have you tried that? Tried some? You feel okay or okay? Too easy? Too hard? We had a question on the forum saying, well, the practice exam is too easy. Like, will the actual exam be too easy as well? Like, last time we also had people saying, well, this is too easy. And it made us really panic. Like, difficulty is subjective, very subjective. So what I can say is the topic from the practice exam and the actual exam is not exactly the same. So maybe the practice exam questions you are like not familiar with, so you feel, oh, this is hard. But the actual exam topics you are more familiar with, so you feel like it's less challenging. Maybe the other way around, like the practice exam questions, you are very familiar with those topics, so you feel it very easy. But then the actual exam may have different topics and feel, oh, this is challenging. So yeah, the difficulty is very subjective. And also, I mentioned this a few times as well, like during the actual exam, like all people feel like this is harder than the practice exam, because the pressure, the stress level, the environment, like everything will have that impact on your feeling about the difficulty. Yeah, so in terms of the format, like how you submit, so let me show you. Where is it? It's not available. Let me double check our course website again. It's still not available. Okay, so I'll go from here. Practice exam starter. So during the actual exam, you will also have this starter file. So other than the paper, so this is the exam paper, right, having all the questions, you will have this starter file. So for all the MCQs, they are in one MD file called mcq.md. So this is where you submit your MCQ answers. So for example, you can have, like, this is for question 1, you can put A here, B, C here if it's multiple choice. So you submit all your MCQs in this file called MCQ files. For the short answer questions, each one will have a separate MD file. For example, for this Q16, where is it? Q16, so this is about the requirements, and you put your answer here in this Q16. So there will be some starting point for you. You do not need to write like long paragraphs, a long story, just some keywords, follow the basic structure, the enough information in there, that will be enough. So you do not need to spend too much time writing a lot of text. And for practical questions, like the programming questions, what you are going to have is a folder. So for each programming question, you will have a folder. You will have a package.json file. Some of them you will also have a tsconfig file for you there already, so you do not need to worry about that. You just npm install and you will have all the packages. And then there will be also starter code for you as well for all programming questions. So you do not need to start from scratch. You just fill in the required sections, the required parts. You will have a to-do here, like this one, and you just put your code there. That will be enough. So you don't need to write from scratch. Any questions so far before we move on? All good? Yeah, and try to practice how you submit the questions. So you will have some guidance on how you submit here. For example, this one, when you finish working, submit your answers by running submit -- question number or -q question number. So this is how you submit each question. And you can also check what you have submit for a question by using -p rather than -q to check your submission for that question. And you can also see a list of all submissions by running submit -- list or submit -l. So familiarize yourself with those like the main part of the exam before the actual exam will save you some time and pressure. What else? Yeah, so auto test. So I've been asked this question before as well. So auto test will be available for most or all coding questions. So almost all coding questions will have some auto tests for you, and we'll also let you know how you can run those auto tests in the exam paper. So for example, this is an example. You can do npm run test for test, npm run link for linked, npm run TSC for tab safety. So you will have those ones. Again, passing the auto test in the exam does not guarantee any marks. So these are like dry runs. So if you want to make sure that your submissions work, do your own testing. Marking. How do we mark the final exam? For the theory, for the MCQ is quite straightforward. Right is right, wrong is wrong, right? If the correct answer is A, you put A, then you got 4 marks, 2 marks. Otherwise, you got 0. So that's for the MCQs. For the short answer questions, we'll look at the structure, the contents in the submission. So it will be manually marked for the short answer questions. For the practical, like the programming questions, we do not mark the style or comment for the practical questions, the programming questions. However, in case you are at the age borderline to pass, we'll manually look at the code, right? And if your code is easier for human read, it's easier for the marker to know, well, you have the right logic, or you have the understanding of how to solve the problem. So it's easier for the marker to understand your code. On another hand, if you got 0 mark for a particular question, like the auto marking didn't run, you tried a lot, but the auto marking didn't run, you got 0 for the auto marking, we will also have a human marker to look at your code. So this is why, like, you probably want to have some comments, follow some good styles for your code. So it's easier for the human marker to look at your code, understand what you are doing. Yeah, and you should be able to read your own code as well. Like when something goes wrong, you debug, right? So it shouldn't be too messy. So please use reasonable style, reasonable variable names so that we can give you the mark that you deserve. Comments only necessary to tell the marker something. Only when necessary. Please do not include identifying info in the comment. Do not put your ZID, your name, your group number, or anything that can identify you in the comment. Because when the tutors mark, they cannot see the name or ZID of the student. It's anonymous. It's no identity in it. But they can see your code. So do not put in the comment any identifying information in it. That will only have a negative impact. Another thing is answers will be run through automatic marking software like auto marker. So please follow the input and output format shown exactly in the question. So this is exactly the same as in the labs and the project. You will have an interface. You will have requirement about the input, the output format. So follow that so that the auto marker can run on your submission. Yeah, answers that don't pass all auto marking tests are hand marks. So if there's something that's like very broken, we'll look at it manually. There will be a marker that hand mark, but it's also guided by auto marking. So we are following the same marking criteria, the rubrics. If you have some small errors in your code that's causing something not working, for example, a typo, or like missing white space or something, cause you that will not cause you a lot of marks loss. So you do not need to worry too much about that, but try to make sure that your code works, that can function, right? Not too messy. No marks given unless an answer shows substantial progress towards the solution. So you need to show that you have enough understanding about solving the problem. So for example, if we have an HTTP server question, your answer should demonstrate your basic understanding about how it works. right? So no marks just for starting a question and writing some generic code. So there will be no mark, 0 mark for submitting a starter code. That's obvious for sure. Good. Special considerations. So ELS students, if you have an ELS registered with UNSW, you should have already received an email from CSE exam or COMP1531 admin telling you the adjustments to your exam. If you haven't received that email yet, please contact the course email and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. But anyway, for special consideration for ELS students, any students, they will see the same exam question text. So the exam questions are the same. Okay, how do you prepare for the exam? I would say have a look at the topics that we walked through at the beginning of this lecture. Any topic that you're not confident yet, have a look at those. Also, go through the lecture slides as a bare minimum. If you don't have time to watch the recording, have a look at the slides. If anything, you feel, oh, what is that? I don't remember that at all. Maybe it's time for you to have a look at that part of the recording. Areas covered by the assignments, labs, projects. So you have been practicing those key concepts in the project, for example, how to read a Swagger file, right? During the exam, you may also have a Swagger file that's shown to you. Like, how do you read that? Yep. But there will also be some part of a question or sub-question that's more challenging, but they are ordered in the difficulty level. So practical question 1, subtask 1, subtask 2, subtask 3. If you go to subtask 3, too difficult, no problem, move on to another question. Okay. Yeah, lab marks you can already calculate yourself. So this is about the provisional results before the exam for other assignments. So you can already calculate your lab marks, but we will give you an official lab marks hopefully next week. So you see where you normally check your mark, there will be a new one called LAB, capital letters. So that's the overall lab marks. Double check that. If there's any problem with that, email the course account and we'll check that for you. We'll also hopefully return project iteration 3 marks before the exam. However, we cannot confirm that yet because our tutors are also students and they are very busy at the end of the term as well. So a lot of them also have exams. So we'll try to get back to you as soon as possible, but they are working very hard to try to get you the marks as soon as possible. In terms of the exam marks, so marks for the final exam. So before your final exam marks are released officially on your MyUSW, we will give you provisional marks for the final exam before it's officially released. That you can have some time to mentally prepare for the final release. If there's anything that is obviously wrong, contact the course and we'll check your marks for you. So that's provisional result. So you do not need to panic about that. If anything needs to be fixed, we'll fix that. Okay, so you will get a mark before the official mark released. So you will have opportunity to have your mark reviewed. Yep. So we will also have supplementary exams. So this is for students with special consideration approved. If you missed the original exam due to illness, like you're very sick or any misadventure, you may be eligible for supplementary exam. The course cannot grant supplementary exam. So if you need a special consideration, apply for special consideration officially through the UNSW special considerations website. So apply there, submit your medical certificates or other supporting documents, and they will get back to you before the exam whether you are approved for a special consideration. And the supplementary exam will be a similar format to the final exam, similar We try to make it as similar as possible, but not the same one. Okay, so this is an important one. Wellness for the exams. Every term, not just 1531 exams, all exams at UNSW have students sick during the exam. So this is very important. There are things that you can do to make sure that you are well at the exam. So make sure you get a good night's sleep. How about your previous exam? Did you have a good sleep before the exam? Yeah, I know it's hard, but try your best to have a good night's sleep. That's very, very important for you on the exam day. Yeah, if you are well rested, you will think more clearly, you have more energy, you feel more calm. Yeah, so try to have a good night's sleep. Another important thing is to pack your bag the night before. Double check you have your pen. You can bring your pen to the final exam. Make sure that you have already prepared that. You have prepared your one-page handwritten note if you wanted to bring one, so that's optional. But if you want to prepare one, this is something to check in your bag as well. Check your student ID card. Very, very important, student ID card. Yeah, anything else that you wanted to prepare in the bag, get them ready before the exam day. Be familiar with your exam location. Again. Yeah, I've been talking about that for a few times. So check your exam location, where they are. So last term we had a student emailed us 10 minutes before the exam, like asking where's my exam. I was like, hurry up, guy. So make sure that you familiar yourself before the exam. Arrive ahead of time. If you live far away from the campus, the traffic in the morning may be not that perfect, so you may want to arrive a little bit more earlier so that you are not late. So the advice is to arrive at least 30 minutes before the exam start. Avoid panic talk. This is also a very important thing, because if you get into a conversation and people are talking about how nervous they are, how bad things are, like it will likely have a bad impact on you on the exam day. So you don't want other people's nervousness or stress to rub off on you before an exam. Try not to be involved in conversation like that. Stand apart from the main scrum of students and keep calm. Feel yourself. So last time we also had students got sugar low, very obviously sugar low during the exam. Have some food. Eat some food before the exam. Banana is perfect. Have 1 or 2 bananas before the exam. Or have some energy bars prepared. Have some food before the exam. So keep coffee and sugar to a minimum, as this will only give you a short boost. Like coffee, not too much coffee. Very important, but always ignored by our students, the awareness for exam. Yeah, I feel like I really enjoyed 1531. I've been teaching 1531 for a few terms so far. However, I feel like if we can have more time to practice for the requirement engineering part, that would be amazing. Like I always feel like we didn't have enough time to do that. So for example, the quizzes, we only had time to do it during the lectures. Yeah, so you can get a little bit more practices in the practice papers and others. Yeah, and I feel like if we had more time to talk about software design, it would be also amazing. Like we just don't have time for that. Yeah, so what else? So what do you feel can be improved for 1531? I feel like the workload is a bit high, to be honest. Like the project, yeah, you feel okay? Yeah, but I feel like it can be really reduced further for the workload. Like the labs are okay, right? Night, core, practical, like some quizzes. So we are trying to make the project has only 2 iterations rather than 3 iterations, but it's a very challenging thing for us because we want you to get enough practice, because the project will be something that you can bring to your tech interviews, right? So we wanted to have sufficient things that you can demonstrate, but like we only have 10 weeks, so that's something. Yeah, but I hope you have learned a lot, although it's quite a lot of new concepts. Yeah, and I really enjoy working out with our tutors and the mates. How is your tutor? Amazing, right? I feel like our tutor of the course is the best part of the course. They are so good, like they care a lot for our students. And I really enjoy working with you as well, like our hardworking students. We got so many good questions on the forum, on the help sessions. I can see how engaged you are, and we are also quite engaging in the lectures. Like 1531 lectures has always been quite engaging, so you have a lot of questions as well. So I really enjoy it. So since this is our last lecture of the term, I would like to thank our staff and our students. Yay! Congratulations! Congratulations for the term. You have done a really good job. Yeah, just a more formal way for you to tell us how we have been doing. So from my experience, you can not only provide feedback to the course, but you can also provide feedback to your tutors. So if they are doing good, let them know. So a lot of time, your feedback, like students' feedback for our tutors, can really make their day. So let them know officially, telling them how amazing they are. Or if you feel like there are things that they can improve, also let them know. Like a lot of our tutors, they repeat again and again. They're not just teaching for one term and they go. They teach for many terms. So let them know where they can improve. That will help them a lot as well. Yeah, so I'll put the link, the QR code here in the slides. If you haven't done that, you can feel free to do that after the lecture. So that's a wrap of the course, of our lectures, of the term, 10 weeks of hard working. So good luck, everyone, for the exams, not only for COMP1531, but also for other courses. And also good luck for your future learning at CSE or other schools, or good luck for your future career. Maybe you wanted to do a software engineering role, maybe you want to do something different, but the experience, the problem solving skills, the collaboration skills, the agile mindset will continue to go with you no matter which role you have in industry. Also, I hope you get the marks that you are aiming for. Yay! Nearly there. And then we will have the Christmas break, the only long-term break in a year. So I hope you have some good things planned, can have some good rest and refresh for the next year. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us either through the course forum, or you can always email the course account at cs1531@csc.unsw.edu.au, or you can just email myself. Yeah, happy to have a chat with everyone. And there are some resources from the university, like for well-being, for safety, for educational support, academic study skill, all the support from the university. If you don't know those yet, this is a good opportunity for you to explore when you have time. Amazing. Thank you so much, everyone. Good luck. Yay, the end of the term. Thank you. Any question? All good? Okay. Okay, cool. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you online as well. Bye. Hey, hello. I'll just stop the streaming.
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Okay. So I just wanted to ask, for the final exam, is there like a minimum requirement for the theory and a minimum requirement for the practical?
No.
Or just combine each other?